Oh, hello there. Welcome to our ongoing coverage of the 2023 Shanghai International Auto Show. In this particular video, we are going to be giving you a look at what we think are some of the wildest, the coolest, and the strangest cars from this year's show. Let's get started.
With hands-on test drives and reviews of exciting Chinese market vehicles, Wheelsboy is the #1 source for China auto insights. Be sure to check us out on Instagram and Facebook.
Are you a middle-aged man that likes to cosplay as a member of Special Forces? Boy, do I have the EV for you, the MHero 917. Okay, perhaps I'm being a bit harsh because I personally cannot stand this style of fake military vehicle, but there is some pretty impressive statistics underneath of all of this. There are two versions, a pure EV and an extended range EV. The pure EV has 800 kilowatts of power, about 1,000 horsepower. 0 to 100 is 4.2 seconds. It has about a 500 kilometer range from a, are you ready for this? 142 kilowatt hour battery. There's 6 piston Brembos underneath these front wheels and 4 piston Brembos out back. Speaking of the rear wheels, they have rear steer up to about 11.7 degrees as I recall. That should give it some pretty impressive maneuverability for a vehicle that measures almost 5 meters in length. If you thought the exterior design of this car was divisive, you cannot imagine what the inside looks like. Starting with what you just saw, the fact that the door handles look like actual handguns. Also, when you open the door, you hear this. I don't know about you, but to me, that sounds like a bullet entering the chamber of a gun. Oh, God. Anyways, let's look at some of the other things in here. The steering wheel, absolutely massive, like a school bus-sized steering wheel in front of a digital instrument cluster and a large center screen over here on the side. Physical buttons down here for obviously controlling your, looks like your locking differentials front and rear, even though this is an electric motor, so I don't know how that works. Either way, there are 2 separate kind of shift knobs here. You've got the actual transmission shifter on the left, and then on the right, you've got your different modes that you switch back and forth. Snow, mud, sand, rock, and wade, which I guess means for deep water. If I switch, you'll hear different sound for each of the modes. Material quality, this thing starts at about $85,000, peaks at around $100,000. That's considerably less than a young Wang U8, to be fair. That car is at least $200,000 or so. But, and however, material quality, not too bad. Plenty of soft touch stuff here and HUD up front. Overall, the material quality I don't have a problem with, let's put it that way. With a length of 5 meters, you would expect the back seat of the 917 to be pretty impressive, and indeed, it is in terms of space. Good legroom, definitely good headroom as well. Very boxy car, so that's not surprising. 5-seater with this fold-down center armrest, cup holder here, a little LED screen that appears to be locked on this particular car, but, oh, no, I unlocked it. It just doesn't work very well. You know, let's see, your seats, your AC, your multimedia, your lights, all the things you would expect. Storage area here for your phone. Fold that up and have a look at this. Fold down table for all the business you need to do in the back seat of your 917. While this thing on paper, at least when you first hear about it, might be considered a competitor for the young Wang U8, it's not actually, in my opinion. This thing is priced between about $85,000 and $100,000 US, which is considerably less than a young Wang U8. It also doesn't have nearly the level of technology as the U8 either. Dual motors on both the EV and the extended range version, whereas there's quad motors on the U8, one on each corner. Ultimately, I think that this car appeals to a very specific market, and it is not me. Chinese EV manufacturer HiFi has chosen the Shanghai Auto Show to debut their V09 all-electric MPV. However, the one that I'm really interested in seeing is a special version that's over there. Let's go check it out. This is the special Atelier version of the V09, which, believe it or not, I'm told is actually going to become a production model. This was designed by the same people that brought you the incredible Lamando Triple XL, as well as the Tank 100 that we showed you earlier this year. This thing's got a lot of different designs, obviously, specifically up in the lights. You can see this is a very unique look that they've done here. This is going to make it to production. They've also got the headlights mounted down below, though those are probably going to move up a bit for regulatory reasons. Overall, it's a much cleaner design. I would describe it as the anti-Alphard, and in fact, the designer told me that that was what they were going for. They felt like the Modern MPVs, as I've personally complained, are just way too in your face. This one, much more subtle. Taking a look on the side, you can see some of the other design cues that they've used specifically from off-roaders. Yes, those are Pirelli Scorpion all-terrain tires wrapped around turbofan style wheels. I absolutely love it. Turbofans are one of my favorite wheel designs. You also obviously have the blacked out paint for the bottom body trim, which makes the car feel a little bit lower to the ground. Let's take a look inside though, because there's a ton of interesting stuff in there. This thing was designed with KOLs, or I don't know how to put it, selfie models perhaps, in mind. So there's a bunch of different things. First of all, this table here, you've seen this in other cars, but I'm told this is gyroscopically designed, meaning this will stay flat no matter the angle of the car. It also has this special mirror that is magnetized, so it will stay in place when you put it down. It can also be stored down here below the table. The screen here has been replaced with an iPad Pro, which you can actually take out of the frame and also put here on the table. The other design elements are largely similar to what you would see inside the V09, but there are some cool details. This modular kind of area here, you can put different screens or whatever. The materials, probably the most noticeable difference. Instead of traditional leather, they chose to use a fabric material. I actually quite like this. Grippier than leather, but also probably easier to clean as well. Overall, very nice design, and I forgot about the roof. When this thing goes into production, this is going to have adjustable brightness and colors as well. And these, there's a whole strip up here where you can move these power sockets. These appear to be 110 volt or maybe 200 volt sockets. You can move them all along this strip to use to power your camera or whatever you need to use. Now we turn to what is undoubtedly one of the most fascinating EV brands here in China, and that is HiFi. Their X and Z models sell for in excess of $100,000 here in the Chinese market. But this is their volume seller, the new HiFi Y. The styling of the HiFi Y might be outrageous compared to traditional SUVs, but it's a step towards sanity compared to the X and the Z. That doesn't mean it doesn't retain some of the interesting styling elements, however. That includes LED panels, both front and rear, and more importantly, those outrageous two-piece rear doors that you found on the X. Specific prices haven't been announced, but we do know that it will be somewhere between $58,000 and $72,000, which will put it in direct competition with models like the Neo EC6 and the Cadillac Lyriq. Meet Poo Poo. This adorable little penguin character is a popular gift here in China. So popular that Bestune, a Chinese brand, has chosen to create a kind of collab using their car, the Little Horse, between the Little Horse and Poo Poo the penguin. This particular version has a modified exterior, obviously, and has been done in cooperation with QQ, one of China's largest messaging platforms. The Little Horse will be debuting in July of 2023, and when it does, it will probably not have quite this bright colored of an interior. This is a special edition, especially those exterior things you see on the outside. Those are not going to make it to production. What probably will make it to production is this overall layout, which reminds me quite a bit of the Wuling Hongguang Mini EV in its simplicity. Interestingly, they've chosen to put the transmission knob here on the dash as opposed to between the seats. Material quality? Well, the price hasn't been officially announced, but if it's anything close to the Wuling Mini EV, it's going to be very, very low, probably sub $10,000, so the quality is about what you would expect. Ion, an all-electric sub-brand from Chinese automaker GAC, debuted their electric supercar, the Hyper SSR, before. However, now it is officially on sale, and we know the price: $185,000 or $245,000, depending on which trim level you choose. That price is in US dollars, by the way, not RMB, but you do get a lot of car for the money. Underneath is a dual-motor electric powertrain, of course, making 900 kilowatts, or around 1,225 horsepower. 0 to 100 is a claimed 1.9 seconds. We don't know anything about the battery or range as of yet, but we do know that the body is made from a combination of metal and carbon fiber. Inside of the Hyper SSR is a very simple interior with what appears to be 2 screens, including a digital instrument cluster that is very far away from the driver and a round steering wheel. While the vehicle is on sale, deliveries will not begin until October of 2023. The Shanghai Auto Show has been exciting for a lot of reasons, one of which is that it's seen a debut of what we're told is the world's first 4-seat EV coupe. This car, the GT, is based on the same platform as the Neta S electric sedan, which, in my opinion at least, is one of the best looking EV sedans you can buy today. The GT is no slouch either, with classic sports car proportions that speak to its performance potential. It's only potential performance for now, but we can say for sure it should be quite fast. The all-wheel drive dual-motor version will have 340 kilowatts. The battery packs on the GT are tied to the powertrains, but they measure between 64 to 78 kilowatt hours. That's net, of course. For those looking for maximum range, you can get the 75 kilowatt hour battery mated to the rear-wheel drive only version that gets 660 kilometers of CLTC range. The interior of the Neta GT seems to be unique to this particular model, though it does share some things with the Neta S electric sedan. Gone is the passenger screen of the Neta S, but this does retain the gigantic 17.6-inch center screen. Down here between the seats are some other interesting details like some carbon fiber, well, look at least materials, and a very dainty little crystal thing that looks like a shift knob, but that's up here. What this does exactly, I will not know, I guess, until I drive the car, hopefully later this year. Prices for the GT will range between $26,000 and $33,000 US when it debuts later in 2023. We are here at the stand for Yangwang, BYD's new high-end brand, and we are first going to start with this, the Yangwang U9 electric sports car. Now, there isn't too much known about this car. We know it will probably have a quad-motor powertrain, just like the U8. We'll get to that in a moment, by the way. We also know that it's going to use DCIS X. That is again, not very detailed as far as information goes, but we know it's going to be BYD's most advanced, sportiest, most highest performance suspension system that will probably be hydraulic. Some of you may have seen online where this thing came onto stage at a recent press conference and literally danced and then jumped up off the ground. I mean, all 4 tires clearing the ground. This is only my second time seeing this car in person and my first time getting up close like this, and I have to say, it does not disappoint. I don't know what it looks like from the photos or in this video, but in person, it's a truly impressive looking sports car design. The details like the headlights are beautiful. Overall, it looks like quite a performer. It took some doing, but we are going to be giving you a look at one of the most hotly anticipated Chinese cars of 2023, the Yangwang U8, which will start at $160,000 US. That's right, the launch edition of this vehicle, which will be coming later this year, is going to start at $160,000 USD. But there's good reason for that, because there's a lot of tech underneath this car. Let's talk about the exterior design first, though. It has an incredibly unique look with this wraparound, almost C-shaped LED cluster, daytime running light, and headlights that are integrated here. It screams expensive and high-tech, if you ask me, especially the highly detailed grille here, which really flashes under the lights. And it's not just the front-end design that looks imposing. The whole car is imposing because it's quite large, 5.3 meters in length. The whole dimensions are around the same size as a Defender 130. Now let's talk a little bit about that technology, because again, there's a lot of it. Starting with LiDAR units, you've got 3. One mounted above the windshield in the middle, flanked by clusters of cameras. And then on each side, you have another LiDAR unit, which brings me, conveniently, to this little logo, which indicates the fact that this is a quad motor powertrain. Pure EV, of course, 4 motors, one on each corner for a total of 820 kilowatts, or around 1,100 horsepower. The claimed 0 to 100 kilometers per hour time, 3 seconds flat. This thing uses DCIS P, which is BYD's advanced hydraulic suspension system. It also has, of course, individual all-wheel drive, giving it some real capabilities off-road. It also has, of course, adjustable height, thanks to those hydraulic suspension, and the height can be adjusted based on what those cameras and LiDAR are reading on the road ahead. So if it's in certain modes and it detects an obstacle, say a large rock in the way, it will raise the suspension up to get out of the way. Now, unfortunately, we cannot open the door to show you the interior, but we can see it through the window. Now, this is the first time that this has been publicly viewed, and it is a very impressive and luxurious looking setup. Everything is covered in leather, as you can see. Lots of screens, including a very interesting center screen that actually has an empty space behind it, where the other 2 screens kind of pass through. Overall, looks like a pretty comfortable place to sit. Now, some of you may have seen online that this car is able to do a tank turn, turning in place by combining its individual electric motors and its rear wheel steer. Some of you may also have seen this thing literally drive sideways onto the stage at its original press conference earlier this year. How did it do that? Well, it required some special tires like these. These tires are made up of individual rollers, so when it's going forward, it's actually going sideways. All right, that's gonna do it for today's video about the wildest cars here at the Shanghai Auto Show. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to join us for our other videos, which are coming out, and also like, subscribe, and hit the bell.